Welcome back to Insist on Truth. We are delighted again to be joined by JJ Carrell. JJ, thank you for making time for us today. I think this is very important.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be back and talking about something so important as the vehicle of illegal immigration to fundamentally transform the United States of America.
That's right. I think it's one of the most important things for people to concentrate on. More and more from parties really all across the spectrum. We're hearing that the administration seems to be very intent on getting us involved in stuff elsewhere in the world that's concerning, yet ignoring the issues that are here. And we just saw President Trump present in Atlanta over the weekend, and he too was focused on, the horrific effects of having 40, 50, whatever number we're using, million illegal immigrants in the country and what they could do. So very important for you to join us, and thank you so much. So let me give you a few minutes, if you would, for the folks that didn't get to see our first segment that aired just about a month ago. I'd like them to hear from you the overall perspective of what's happening with people coming into the U.S. and the dangers that presents, if you would, please.
Sure. First off, listen to what we're talking about. 50, 45, 55 million. That's where we've gotten to. This is where the normalization of chaos takes effect. We're talking about 50 million illegal aliens inside America's borders by the end of Joe Biden's term in office. I mean, that's shocking. That means 1 in 6 residents in America are illegal alien. Now, and you ask yourself why? Because that's the question no one ever asks, or if they do ask, then they kind of like, well, deep state and this and that. No, we need to drill down and understand why this is happening. You don't have to listen to what I say. I'm going to quote people. I'm going to quote Barack Obama saying we're going to fundamentally transform America because he's running this administration. We're going to talk about Joe Biden saying we are going to have unrelenting waves of immigration onto our shores that take the Anglo-Saxon and make them the minority in our own country. End quote. That's a good thing. I don't think that's a good thing. I didn't vote for that. You look at Chuck Schumer, we're going to allow in all the dreamers and then the 11 million or whatever. And he goes, and whatever number that is, he knows that number's not 11 million. He's a lying scumbag, but they all are. So this is a uniparty issue of the destruction of America. And it really boils down to this. Prior to Joe Biden taking office with Barack Obama's handlers, they made a very conscious and purposeful decision to use illegal immigration as the vehicle to fundamentally transform the United States of America. How do I know that? I know that because on day one, Joe Biden signed 94 executive orders obliterating every immigration policy that Donald Trump had in place that gave him the most secure border in American history. How do I know the border was secure? Because I was in the Border Patrol at that time. My last year in the Border Patrol is Joe Biden's first year. I saw everything transpire in front of me because I was a senior leader in the Border Patrol and I saw all the data. This is intentional and purposeful. Absolutely.
We see in an interview with Mayorkas that he echoes your exact comments. Let me just play that for just a second, if I may.
To understand from you what Trump-era immigration policies have been banned, ended, reversed, and if any investigations are underway by you.
So we have rescinded so many Trump immigration policies, it would take so much time to list them.
Basically admitting they've taken away virtually everything that Trump put in place that kept what we're seeing now from happening.
Yeah, he admits it. They're so arrogant. That's the telltale sign when you know they're winning and when they've already accomplished everything and they've already put up their security walls so they can't be touched. They come out and just tell you what they've done. Look, later on, I think it was 2 weeks, Sundays ago on ABC, he again was there on a Sunday show, and Mayorkas says proudly and arrogantly, yeah, I built down in, let me make sure I get this right. We'll make these countries right. He said in Colombia, Ecuador, Guatemala, and Costa Rica, those are just what we know about. This is where he's built regional processing centers called safe mobility offices, SMOs. I don't know what the hell that means, but SMOs. And what it really is he built brick and mortar buildings on foreign soil on our dime to help shelter, clothe, and medicate illegal aliens to make their journey more effective. And then he also used those places to obtain documents for them just to walk across the border and through the ports of entry. This is treason. He just admits it openly. But we come right back to it, Bill. We come right back to the fact that where are the Republicans? Not one. Outside of Chip Roy and Marjorie Taylor Greene, name me one Republican that's tried to, on any level, to stop this. And you can't. Jim Jordan, he's the Trey Gowdy of the past, and Paul Ryan lineage. All of those people, all of them are corrupt and they're do-nothings. They're impotent and weak. In fact, I would say the Republican Party, all by and large, is the greatest example or greatest representation of the American man today. Just impotent, lazy, weak, compromised. They are the American man. And this is a uniparty issue. And that's what's so frustrating, why nothing gets done except treasonous actions by the Democrats.
It is very disappointing. Disappointing doesn't even quite touch it. But as you say, it's a uniparty issue. And again, one of the things that I saw, I guess it was in part an interview that you were part of, where this comes out. And look at one of the key states where this is happening. The doorway to this, if you will, into the U.S. Is a few states, including Texas, and Texas has a big play in this. Yet you would think that there'd be a way to stop it there, and yet the action doesn't seem to get done. Let me go ahead and share that for just a moment, if I may.
Our state over to the criminal enterprise.
Yes, you have.
Given it to him.
Yes.
We have a governor that the only way we can get him to do anything that's positive from my standpoint is to embarrass him.
Has the governor of Texas done anything meaningful to stop that? No. The Republican governor? He's got a National Guard. He's the commander-in-chief of the National Guard, and it's Texas, so they're all large. And they have double-stack magazines in their sidearms. You think they couldn't stop that in a week if they? Of course. Just assemble along the border. We're not doing this. No, he refuses to do that.
And that's what you're talking about, isn't it? I mean, the people that you would think would have power to at least make change don't seem to step in, no matter what their, quote unquote party affiliation may be. They don't seem to step in and make anything happen.
No, they don't. And Greg Abbott is he's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Listen, he went down and secured Shelby Park. Shelby Park has 47 acres of the border, not miles, 47 acres.
Mm-hmm.
He's responsible for 1,250 miles on the southern border of Mexico. He's done nothing. And I talked to those National Guardsmen, and they told me this was all kabuki theater. He said, and all my Border Patrol agents also verify this, that everyone that came across and that they detained, they just gave them to the Border Patrol, and then the Border Patrol released them. They just became an impediment, another step in order to get released. And then you watch the Texas National Guard literally be run over. When's the last time that you've ever seen the United States military get decimated in that fashion and nothing happens to the adversary? Nothing. They just went, oh, well, they beat us. It just shows you this is all a lie. Look, I also got a chuckle out of seeing New York and Chicago and Martha's Vineyard getting illegal aliens. That's great because it exposes the hypocrisy. However, from the beginning, I said, why are we sending illegal aliens into America to harm Americans? Why are we not deporting them right from the states? And the answer is because all of those men, DeSantis included, have done nothing. DeSantis does a little bit more because he has E-Verify in the state, but they don't do anything. There is no, hey, I'm going to activate the National Guard. Every single person I get is going to be deported. Texas and America does not need Mexico. Mexico is solely dependent on the United States of America for everything. So what you do is you shut down every ports of entry. You just shut it down. No one's allowed to cross. Mexico will bend the knee within 24 hours because they need every single dollar that they can get their hands on to survive, not be successful, to survive. But we won't do it. Donald Trump did it. Donald Trump made the president, Obrador at the time, bend the knee and say, okay, we'll stop all this nonsense. Because he was the very first president in the history of the United States of America, that ever made everyone say, okay, I'm You're not an impotent, weak, corrupt president. We're going to do what you say. And he
Yeah.
did. I lived it. I saw it. I saw it happen within my own career.
He tells that.
Yep.
I'm sorry. He tells that famous story about the asking for 28,000 troops on the Mexican side to help stop people before coming across and keep them in Mexico so they can't just come across, and how the Mexican president denied that, and the diplomats denied that at first. And he said, okay, so Monday we're going to stop all the aid that we're sending you. And let me go make a phone call. And they come back and, well, we'd be delighted to help you with 28,000 troops or whatever the number was. And it's, most people don't realize quite the power that the U.S. has until we start giving it away. And then they notice these big numbers. At the moment, people have begun getting an education based on the numbers that are going to Ukraine and Israel and others. Mm-hmm. But I mean, so many countries throughout South America, Mexico and others get aid from us. And the question that you just posed was, why would we continue to do that when they're not doing what they need to do to help us? It's crazy.
It is. And what Donald Trump did was even more brilliant. He reached down to they call it the Northern Triangle, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras and Mexico. And he said to all of them, you're going to stop these caravans from coming up, because you got to understand this started under Donald Trump, because Soros and Obama and all of them started, okay, we're going to move tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people across these nations into America. And what he did was he told them, you are all going to stop, or I'm rescinding all federal aid to you, foreign aid. And they went, okay. And then all of a sudden it stopped. It stopped overnight. So this insanity that we're living through they created it. They created it through their policy, as you showed. Mayorkas said we dismantled or rescinded all of his policies, and then he brought him in. I watched it, man. I was there. I saw the genesis of the treason, and I remember thinking, this is never going to stop. I mean, I could never have anticipated this level of treason, but I knew that there was some realm in this world. They're going to continue to attack us and use this as the vehicle to destroy us. And they have. They've been successful. Think about this, Bill. From the day one Biden took office to present day, every single day, anywhere from 5 to 20,000 people have been arrested and released into America every day. And it's happening today. Another 5 to 10, 20,000 will be released today. It just happened. To understand the enormity of this, I like to put this into context so your audience, and because we talk about these giant numbers, think of the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, holds 100,000 people. 10,000 people a day, we'll just use a round number, 10,000 people a day are arrested and released. I know that number is very conservative. Let's just use it. So every 10 days, I pack that Rose Bowl completely to capacity. And at midnight on that 10th day, I release them all into America. But at the same time, I usher in another 10,000, another 10,000. In the 10 days, I fill the stadium again, and I release them into America. And I do that every single day since Joe Biden's taken office. Now, you get that visual in your brain. A lot of us have been to college and professional football games. Think of a stadium packed full of illegals, terrorists, gang members, soldiers, women and children have been raped and sexually assaulted. And I'm going to release them into America by the tens of millions. That's what it is. That's what's happening to America.
Yep. The administration would love to characterize these folks as, oh, well, they're just asylum seekers. They're in trouble in their own country and are just looking for asylum here. Yet in our previous segment, you explained the dramatic fraction of these people. It's a big percentage that are military age males and are in some cases being housed together in cities all across the U.S. You mentioned one particular facility up in New York that you and your partner had traveled to review. The unspoken question behind this is, what about the rest? And that's one of the things that I wanted to make sure we concentrate on today. You mentioned that your initiatives now are including not only the documentary you began with, that's due to release September, I believe. Is that correct? And now a one that speaks to the child trafficking piece of this, which is even more horrendous, but for different reasons. If we could, let's sort of pivot over and will give us a sense of how big is this problem? What's it stem from? Why is this happening? If you can characterize that a bit.
Okay. Well, let me tell you what happened with the documentary is I'm a very determined man, and I have a very clear vision of what I want to happen in whatever part of my life. And I know that I need to be flexible because God changes it constantly. And this documentary was one of those times where I started literally flying into San Diego at night, my first long weekend of filming. And I had a very distinct concept in my vision, in my brain, of what this documentary was going to be about. And it changed. And it changed every single time I went somewhere. Because the things that I was witnessing, things that I was seeing, the things that I was learning were shocking every single time. And one of those shocking things was child sex trafficking. It became so large, Bill, that my partner and I were like, God, how are we going to put this in a movie in 90 minutes and talk about the invasion and talk about child sex trafficking? Because it almost was like that. It sucked all the oxygen out of the room, and everything had to look at that. So this week, my partner calls me and says, hey, I just can't do it, man. I can't put the child sex trafficking in this documentary because it's too much information. He says, what is shocking is we have enough to do a standalone documentary just on child sex trafficking. Because Ryan and I, my partner, said, we're going to do this documentary, and then if God willing and sell it enough, we will do child sex trafficking documentary. And he and I were sitting there talking about the pros and cons. And one of the things that we said was, I don't think we can sit here morally for 6-9 more months knowing what we know, because everybody has, and I'll get into the child sex trafficking. This is one of the reasons why it thrives, is because nobody's connected the dots, right? There's people that are child sex trafficking hunters that go after the kids and the organizations. There's people that move the children. There's the government aspect, the NGOs, the Border Patrol. Nobody said, let me just connect these dots and then I'm going to show what's happened in America. And we've been able to, because of my access into the Border Patrol and DHS and ICE, I'm able to connect all those big middle part dots, right? We see the beginning of it in the invasion. We see the end of it with the data and numbers coming out, but even that's segmented. So what my partner and I decided, we're going to get this documentary out first, the child sex trafficking. We split our documentary into two. The first one's going to go on September 19th, and it's called Treason, Trafficked. It's all about child sex trafficking. And the second one will be on October 22nd, called Treason, Invaded. My partner, to be honest with you, even sent me a text just saying, hey man, sorry I've been such a jerk these last 2 or 3 days. I have just been swamped into watching all these documentaries and all these interviews you've done and everything I know. And it's so dark. It's kind of debilitating. And I said, I know, I've been there. Just fight through it. You'll come out the other end okay. Because when you talk about child sex trafficking, Bill, people have no idea. It sounds horrible, and then you just go about your life, right? I'll go get Chick-fil-A and I'll go see a movie, or I'll just go to the store. No, listen, under Joe Biden, 500,000 children have crossed the border and been released. They are called unaccompanied alien children, called UACs. They're as young as infants, like brand new newborns, to 17-year-old. I've spoken and interviewed the women that ran these child detention facilities, okay, by the government. They're HHS whistleblowers. And one lady saw 8,500 children go through one facility and said, JJ, every last one of them had trauma. And I said, okay, when you mean every? Yes, every. And I said, okay, give me an example of one. She says, okay, this kid, Mateo, is 15 years old, and I am interviewing him. And we just asked him a series of questions, and we got almost to the end. And he said, hey, can I go back to, and I want to redo a question, re-answer a question you asked about sexuality. And he said, I said I was gay, but I don't know if I'm gay. I like men, but I don't know if it's because that my father has sold me to have sex with men since I was 7 years old in Guatemala, or that I do like men. And I said, okay, well, this is a one-off. And she said, no, this is every one of them. And then I said, okay, well, in these federal facilities, did you not have psychiatrists and psychologists? And she goes, no, that's the problem. We just shipped them up, packaged them, and sent them on their way to more trauma. We sent out hundreds of thousands of children that have been raped and sexually assaulted. They're ticking time bombs, Bill. History shows that they will replicate what they have been taught, just like my son will replicate going to church and being kind. It's not these kids' fault. I'm just saying this is historic, that they will replicate the injuries that are brought to them. So we sent out 500,000 ticking time bombs. And then she said, once Mateo becomes 18, he will become a sponsor. And then I will be sending children to Mateo. I interviewed people that worked inside the child detention facilities that traffic these kids. One young man's name is Carlos, and Carlos worked for 8 years under Trump and into Biden. And I said, what's the difference between Trump's term and Biden's term? He said, well, under Trump, we had major policies and regulations. He said, and I barely worked because we didn't have any children. I worked 2 to 3 days a month. He said, I could barely make ends meet. He said, the day Joe Biden became president, he said, I worked every single day of the month for over a year before I quit. And I said, well, how much did you make? He said, I made between $6,000 and $7,000 a week. And then I asked Carlos, I said, Carlos, what is your education background? Like, you have a master's in child psychology? Are you a CSP worker, CPS? No, I dropped out of high school and have a GED. And I said, okay, I don't mean to be, because he's a very intelligent man, very intelligent. And I said, he's just not credentialed. And I said, well, is everyone else like you, meaning non-educated? He goes, yes. He goes, we need so many, we call it escorts, escorting children across state lines. Mm-hmm. And Carlos said, the way that we would get it is we'd go down to the employment center in McAllen, Texas. And then we would go outside and hire everyone standing in line. He says, and then we'd train them for a day, and then they would be transporting children across state lines all across America.
I think we've seen video. I have forgotten that as we sit here who was doing the research, but they showed extensive video of folks driving up to an airport, I believe in Texas or Arizona, getting out of a van with children, 8, 10, 12, something like 14. They would, these folks would watch them walk into the airport. People would be wearing badges, ID badges. They'd try to ask, are these your children? Whose are these? And the people would take the badge, put it away, refuse to answer questions. The children, chillingly, if they asked the children anything, the children would immediately look up at the person they were traveling with, and apparently in fear, and looking for guidance as to what to do or what to say. And most of them would remain silent. And it's these people are being employed by, do we know? I mean, who is it that's actually behind this?
These are all large NGOs, Southwest Keys, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Family Services, Jewish Family Services. MVM is a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar business run by former Secret Service agents that were contracted to build facilities in war, and now got all the child trafficking contracts. They have no idea what they're doing. And they don't care. These children are just packages being moved. So you understand how deep, how deep this goes. I would say 70-80% of all the children are Hondurans, Guatemalans, and El Salvadorians. Majority are Guatemalans. There's a Guatemalan NGO called Save the Children. Save the Children has been sued by the Guatemalan federal government, and they are suing Texas because that's where Save the Children are trafficking all the Guatemalan children into Texas, and they're finding out, their government, Guatemalan government's finding out that the children are being trafficked through Texas. Guess who was on the board at one time for Save the Children? on the top of the board, her name would be Jill Biden. Jill Biden, the first lady. What if Melania was running a child sex trafficking NGO in Slovenia? Do you think that we would know about that? You think we would hear about that once, twice, 100 million times? We've heard nothing.
Yeah.
And also, you asked me what kind of NGOs are working. So let's just take Southwest Keys and Catholic Charities. Ken Paxton, 2 weeks ago, just leveled a major lawsuit against both organizations because of the numerous rapes and sexual assaults happening inside those buildings to the children at the hands of the workers. I broke this. My partner broke this. Carlos told us, yeah, inside of these facilities, they're raping the children. Absolutely, they're raping. I've seen it. Oh, God. Okay.
This has been going on a long time too, hasn't it?
Years. And I want your audience to understand we're talking about billions with a B. Let me give you a kind of a gauge. The great investigative journalist Michelle Malkin wrote a book called Border Inc. about how much money people are making off of this. And she focused a chapter on the NGOs and how much money they made. I'm Catholic, so this makes me sick. Catholic Church, through Catholic Charities, in about a 15-year span that kind of went all the way up into the end of Obama's term. They got about 2.2 billion dollars over like 15-year period. Catholic Charities probably received $10 billion minimum, and I'm just guessing right now. I would guess from the data that I've been given, $10-20 billion in the last 3 years. That's how much everything has accelerated beyond any kind of imagination. Tens of billions of dollars have gone to the NGOs. By the end of Joe Biden's term, this is his data, not mine. They estimate on the low end that it will cost the United States of America $700 billion for illegal aliens. We believe the number has already eclipsed a trillion, meaning by the time the 4 years is over, he will be in the range of about $1.5 trillion spent on illegal aliens inside America.
Wow.
Let that sink in for a second, America.
That's incredible. We talked about the fact that this has been going on. Many people will recall that during the Haiti crisis, 2016, perhaps earlier, there was incidents where one of the people working for the Clinton Foundation, Laura Silsby, was caught trying to leave the country with, I think, 33 children that she claimed were orphaned by the earthquake. And in fact, it turned out they were not orphaned. They had just simply been picked up and, come with us. And she's trying to get them out of the country. Ultimately was convicted for some of those charges. And the attorney that defended her was paid for by the Clinton Foundation. Since there's been much written about the Clinton Foundation's broad money gathering, the contributions that were brought to the Clinton Foundation in order to help Haiti, but did they actually spend them on helping Haiti? And if not, where did they go? And so to your point, this has been emerging as a big money business. Is that ultimately the driver behind this? I guess where my instinct is going is why is there a market for this? Who is it that ultimately wants to invest in buying and harming children?
Well, to understand for years and decades, the narco smugglers were like the top tier, right? And then you had human smugglers way down there. They actually looked down on them like, you're not worth our time. It's the money's not worth it, the aggravation. This is where all the power prestige is narcos. Now, the narco smugglers have taken over all of the human smuggling. Why? Because the money has become so exorbitant. And the federal government is facilitating this smuggling. So before, human smugglers would have to transverse the Border Patrol, ground sensors, cameras, get people to pick them up, drive them to a load house, feed, clothe them, and then have to let them go and then track them for their money. That was a lot. It's very exhaustive. Now, the cartels charge them exorbitant amounts of money. Then they tell them where to cross on the border, and then their job ends, and the Border Patrol takes over, and then the Border Patrol transports them through the NGOs across America and become the final piece of the smuggling. I don't have to pay for load houses, drivers. I don't have my product doesn't get spoiled, meaning get caught by the Border Patrol. Everything's free, and I'm making billions and billions of dollars on humans. Then when you go into the children, you have to understand it from a business perspective. And I know it's hard for people to even hear this, but this is how they think. So these children, when I smuggle narcotics over, heroin, for example, and I'm shooting up heroin, I can't resell that heroin. It's gone. It's in that person's body. It's done. I sold, the transaction's over. But if I have a young boy or a young girl, be 3 years old, 3 months old, 13 years old, I can sell that kid 5, 10, 15, 20 times a day. A day. So I just went from selling a product that I smuggled and cost all that money to get over the border, and it's gone. Whereas I have another product, instead of making $300 on that cocaine or heroin, I'm making $300 times 20 every day for years until that child dies. Years. And then when that child dies, then I'm going to cut his organs out and I'm going to organ harvest it. Or then when I have that dead carcass, I'm going to sell it to the satanic ritual child sacrifice groups of people. So I have a product that's going to give me hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million, maybe $2 million once I'm done with it. I mean, that's powerful. And then you understand, you said, well, who's consuming it? Well, let's look at America. Okay. Let's look in the mirror. Number one consumer of child pornography in the whole entire world, United States of America. One of the top nations in the world that actually physically pays for child sex, United States of America. Do you think that what I just told you and everything I had, the nation that has aborted 60 million children, the nation that mutilates children, the nation that allows men dressed in women's clothes with erections to dance around naked in front of children in our libraries, schools, and parades, the LGBTQ that has decimated the normal gender norms, and you understand all that's happening. This child sex trafficking is not by itself. It's part of all of this sexual perversion and evil. It is. And people don't want to talk about it, right? Well, transgender's not that bad. Well, yes, it is. Telling kids that they can have 150 genders is not that bad. Yes, it is. Removing children's genitals off of their body and forever changing them is horrible. Trafficking children is horrible. But you are looking at it from a 500,000 that we know of, Bill. That's what we know of. Now, what I've also learned from the people that I interviewed about this is they said, JJ, everyone is focusing on this south to north traffic of all these illegal children into America. Nobody's looking at the highway going south from America. Now, okay, what do you mean? Well, JJ, we have 500,000, 1 million children missing in America. Every year, 100, 200, 300, 400,000 children go missing. Where do they go? Do they just disappear in the dark of night? No. Said the Mexican cartels are kidnapping them, trafficking them down the same pathways, but going south into Mexico, and they fly them to Africa, and they harvest their organs. Why? Well, because for whatever reason in the child organ harvesting world, they believe that the American children have less parasites in their bodies or in their organs, so their organs are better specimens, if you will, than say African children or Latin American children. So they become a premium. This is happening right under your noses. And finally, Bill, I'll tell you this. I asked former FBI agents that ran child sex trafficking organizations, went after them. And the man that runs the child sex trafficking organization that hunts the kids down. And I asked him, if I was president and I hired you and I told you, you have a mandate, I want this eradicated immediately. Immediately, I want it gone. How many officers do you need? You know what he told me? He said, I need to start out with is 500,000.
Wow.
What? I said, there's only 660,000 law enforcement officers in America. You need 500,000. He goes, that's the start, JJ. That's just a start. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, it's that big. He goes, you have no idea. You have no idea of how evil this nation has become.
Wow.
And now I do.
These are difficult pieces of knowledge for people to accept, yet it's critical that they understand, because it's my belief when they do, there will be no turning away from this. I mean, this is the kind of thing that when you hear about children, the most innocent among us, being harmed in this way, in some cases from infancy, you can't walk away from it. You have to become involved and do whatever your role suggests in order to confront this and help stop it. It was notable that Putin made a number of comments about the West being led by pedophiles, and kept talking about the elites of society participating in this. Let me just play a quick clip from that so people can understand it. But we have a tendency right now to think of leaders of other countries as the bad guys instantly. But what about when they're telling what according to what you've just shared appears to be the truth? And unfortunately, some of us in the US may be the bad guys. Let me just play this for a moment.
Ведут против нас все более агрессивные информационные атаки. Целью выбирают прежде всего, конечно, молодых людей, молодые поколения. И здесь опять лгут постоянно, извращают исторические факты, не прекращают нападки на нашу культуру, на русскую православную церковь, другие традиционные религиозные организации нашей страны. Посмотрите, что они делают со своими собственными народами. Разрушение семьи, культурной и национальной идентичности, извращение, издевательства над детьми вплоть до педофилии объявляются нормой их жизни. А священнослужители, священников принуждают благословлять однополые браки. Да Бог с ними, пускай что хотят.
As you said a moment ago, we've in some cases have gotten so desensitized that things that we would have thought even 10 years ago to be bizarre and perverse, they would love us to, the infamous they would love us to think of as normal now. And yet we've had guests on the program that they are from the gay community in some cases, but even they will say, we don't support this trans thing. This was never part of our community. This is something different. This is something that's much more potentially nefarious. Why would they be pushing this? And why is it that it seems to be so caught up in, as an example, what we saw in the Olympic ceremonies just in these last, week and a half, 2 weeks, that wasn't just about cross-dressing and so forth. These were deliberately mocking Christians, specifically Christian traditions and beliefs. Who would do that? Well, it ain't the Christians that are mocking Christians, I don't believe. I think it's the guys playing on the other team. And they seem to be trying to get us to believe that, these things are okay. They're really not harmful, when in fact, they're potentially horrifically harmful.
Well, look at what Putin just said, right? The bad guy, Putin, right? I love how he's the bad guy, but Joe Biden, our president, who is a pedophile, you just look at his actions. No one touches women and small children in that fashion unless you're a pedophile. So let's just be very honest and clear on that. What did Putin say that was wrong, incorrect on any level? Nothing. He said in broad strokes, the American are consumed by pedophilia. And this is what I know for a fact, that in every upper echelon of every segment of our society, religion, education, media, entertainment, and politicians, that the thread of pedophilia runs through it. That's why this is so important to get these kids in. And when I interviewed these people, these men and women, many of them said there are congressmen, plural, senators with an S, and yes, presidents with an S that are pedophiles. Yep.
Yeah. It's scary. Go ahead.
It is scary. So I just want to focus on this one thing is So General Flynn, I don't know if you saw this. It was so flippantly stated. General Flynn was who was head of all of the intel agencies under Donald Trump. So he has all the access, or had all the access to everything. Flippantly said, I think it was this has to be about 9 months ago now. And I was watching, and I had to pause it because I was like, what did he just say? And he said, just off the cuff, yeah, there are congressmen and senators that go overseas under the blanket of our flag, and they have sex with minors, and they're compromised. Number one, there's no such thing as sex with minors. It's called raping children. Number two, I want names. So I interview people from his circle that are very loyal to him. And I said, these are my problems I have. I want to know names. And they said to me, first, I said, is this true? And they looked at me and they said, this is 100% true. Senators, congressmen, and presidents. And I went, okay, then why are you not naming names? I couldn't sit on it. And they made almost a very valid point. And they said, listen, just because people say and put a spotlight on evil and criminal activity, that does not mean anything's going to get done. He says, we have no apparatus in place to prosecute these people, to hold them accountable. Who's going to hold them accountable? When you think of it in those terms, they're right. There is no one who's going to hold them accountable because, as they said, the vast majority of everyone in the House and Congress and the halls of power are complicit in this. Either they are directly involved in child sex trafficking, or they know of it and have remained silent, and now they are complicit and they hold that over their head. I mean, look at what's happened. Okay, I always say this. People say, well, give me an example of someone being compromised. Well, let's look at Speaker Johnson. Speaker Johnson came up and through the ranks, and he said, I'm going to stop all payment to Ukraine. I'm going to impeach Mayorkas. I'm going to stop the border. I'm going to do another X, Y, and Z things. By the time he gets the gavel, he's done a 180, and he reneged on every single policy thing he said. Why? What do they have on Speaker Johnson? Could it be the fact that he openly admits that him and his son talk about porn all the time, talk about what kind of porn they watch as a safety valve? Hold on a second, sir. I have a son. There's no way in God's world that I would be talking to my son about porn and sharing what porn you watch versus what porn I watch. So we have someone that is a pervert, a sexual perverted. And then I should have known, because my natural instinct is always right on. Every time I see a politician or anyone pray and make a spectacle of prayer, I know that just from God saying it, be careful of those men. They prostrate themselves in order as an act, and they're acting on the Christian faith. And what does he do the very first time? He pulls down a la Pence, kneels down in the house and prays to God, and yet he does nothing. Yeah. He does nothing. And we have to be able to have the courage to speak out and say, that guy is compromised. He's absolutely compromised. Get him out. But we don't. We allow this. Why? Because they're all involved. All of them are involved. This is a stain on the soul of America, on our kids and the illegal alien kids that we allow to be raped and brutalized on our shores.
One of the things people may remember is Pelosi and a number of others during COVID kneeling in, I believe, in the Capitol, affectating a prayer. And yet, you wonder, well, exactly who are they praying to, and for what purpose?
That's a good point.
Seems to be a valid question. Gosh, these are troubling things. I suspect we're gonna, as we get closer to your release of the 2 documentaries now, we'd like to have you back and talk about those. But in the meantime, there are ways that folks can learn more about your findings and your work. So could we spend just a few minutes and talk about those, please? You've got a book and now these 2 documentaries on the way.
I do. I have, you can find my book at Amazon, and I'm proud of it because it has been a bestseller on Amazon multiple times, in and out of the bestseller list. And why I'm proud of that is not to be braggadocious in any way, is because when I first published this, I published it through a large conservative publication that censored my book. And then that would not honor their contract because, as they told me, the president told me, at least 50% of their personnel, which are Gen Zers, would not work on my book because they didn't like the things that I said. And the irony is everything I said is true and backed up on footnotes and citations, and everything that I said was going to happen happened.
Wow.
You can find me on Substack at JG Carrell Substack, and then every day my partner Ryan Matt and I, my documentary partner, post 2 to 3 shorts from our interviews and our footage on a documentary every day on X at JG Carrell 14. And then I have my 2 documentaries come out. And I also want to say this too.
Mm-hmm.
We started selling our documentary for $9.99 pre-order. We're already selling thousands of pre-orders. And for $14.99, you get the total package, meaning about 35 to 40 extra hours of documentary footage, behind the scenes, and full-length interviews. And you can find this at thisistreason.com. Thisistreason.com. And I want everyone to understand, for $9.99, we didn't say, oh, you have to buy this child sex trafficking for $9.99, then you got to buy this, the second Treason Invaded for $9.99. No, we're just instead of putting in one documentary for $9.99, we're putting both of them for the total price of $9.99. So for $5, you get both of them for $9.99. So we're not trying to make money on the child sex trafficking one. In fact, my partner and I had some moral dilemma on, okay, how can we set this up so people can see it? And we just came to the point where we're both overwhelmed as far as trying to edit and get this out in time. So the easiest for us all is just put both documentaries on. One releases on September 19th, the other one in October 22nd. And just for $9.99, you get both documentaries. You just get them both, and then we're done. So
That's great.
we think that is the best moral.
Tell us the dates again for release, please.
Yes. So you can pre-order now, which helps Ryan and I because we self-funded. We didn't want any partners to Netflix, Prime, etc. to say, okay, you can't do this, or I'm going to shelve this. We wanted complete control over it. The first one will be released on September 19th, and that is called Treason Trafficked, and it's all about the child sex trafficking. We connect all the dots. So you will, when you're done watching that, you will understand without a shadow of a doubt that the United States federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. It'll be undeniable that your government partakes in this. October 22nd, about a month later, we will release Treason Invaded, and that is everything that is happening on the southern border and what is the manifestation of that treason in America, in cities like New York City, Philadelphia, Chicago, Austin, LA, San Francisco, but also small towns like Springfield, Ohio, and Whitewater, Wisconsin. You are going to see what treason is and what it looks like and what is the manifestation of that. And it's going to shock you to your core. And both of these documentaries, I've already seen parts of them. I have not seen all of them because my partner is neck deep in it with his team. But I'm going to tell you, when you are done watching both of these documentaries, you are going to feel as if you forgot to exhale for the last 90 minutes. And when it's done, you are going to sit there in stunned silence. I really believe that. You are going to sit there in stunned silence. I'm going to Greenville, Texas on September 13th to begin screening. So we're going to have screenings or premieres, I like to call them screenings, in New York, Nashville, Chicago, and Texas right now. And I believe that those locations will grow as we get closer to the initial release date. So we're planning those as well. And as we get closer, I would love Bill to come back and talk to you about what it is. In fact, send you a copy prior to me coming on so you can review it, good, bad, or indifferent, and tell your audience, hey, this is something you have to see, or hey, JJ made mistakes and this sucks, so don't go see it. But I will give it to you. I don't believe that will be the case. I believe it will be it'll be dark. It will be hard to stomach, but it will be riveting, and it will be educational, and it will leave you. And as you said it, once you know it and once you've seen it, then you are going to have to make a very conscious decision. Do I do nothing and become complicit, or do I do something to help stop it.
Yep. We'd be honored to help in any way that we can as we get closer, JJ. Obviously, the information is necessary. It's, as you say, it's not going to be easy, but very frankly, many of the things in life that are the most important are not very easy to accept, especially if it's other than what we've been taught and told for so many years. And so we're delighted that you're making that progress and happy to help. Let's see, anything else that we didn't touch on? You mentioned a couple things about Biden. You mentioned a couple of things about folks. We're going to append some videos that I was not able to have prepared for our taping time today, but I will append them to the final video as it's this video as it's released, so that people can see examples of what you and I have been talking about that show these things actually in some cases happening. We'll include the one with kids going through an airport. We'll include some of the weird behavior by Biden and others. And, these are hard truths.
They are, and it's hard to hear that your government, your federal government, is peddling in child sex. It's hard. But I will tell you this, and you're going to see it in this documentary. I interviewed about 10 people on child sex trafficking. I interviewed people that work inside the NGOs. I interviewed people that run organizations that hunt down these children, save them, and hunt down these organizations and put them in jail. I talked to FBI agents, DHS whistleblowers, HHS whistleblowers. I talked to them all. And I all asked them this one question, Bill. It's a statement at the end of our interviews. And these interviews are not 15, 20, 30 minutes. These interviews I'm sitting down will last anywhere from 2.5 hours to 5 hours. That's how in-depth and how entrenched this is in our society and how malicious this evil is. And every time I ended my interview with them, I said, I have to ask you a question. And the answer is just yes or no. I'm going to give you a statement, and I want you just to answer yes or no, nothing else. And I say, are you ready? Yes. I said, my belief and my theory is the United States federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. As I'm saying this, we're sitting in our sofa, or we're sitting on chairs opposite each other, and they begin to lean in to me as their answer. And I can't get the word history out. That's the last word in my statement. I get the hiss, and they're yelling. They don't say yes. Bill, they lean into me and they yell at me. Yes, yes, yes. They are. They're the largest child sex trafficking organization ever. Yes. And I'm like, the first time I was just like, whoa, because I thought I'd get a yeah. Unfortunately, no. They were so robust in their answer. And to me, that validated everything that I believe. Everything. People on the inside are saying, absolutely, our federal government is the largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. Period. End of discussion. No argument. And it is. And that's going to be the most difficult thing for people to accept when they watch our documentary, is because Ryan and I have laid out in complete evidence, going from 90 minutes from the beginning to the end, and it's indisputable what we've uncovered. It's indisputable that this is factually the truth. And again, we come right back full circle, Bill. Do you want to partake in it by being a typical American man or woman that's lazy, incompetent, uneducated? Or do you want to get involved in it, become educated, have information, and then have the courage to speak directly to evil, and not only speak to it, but point at it and say, you're evil. Drag queens reading in the library, you're evil. Why are we not protesting that? You're evil. Women and men, moms and dads that are allowing their children to go to gay pride parades around gay men having sex, or putting money in their G-strings while they have fake breasts and erections on. That, if I brought my son to Vegas and we went to the strip joint in Vegas, within 5 minutes, a police officer with Child Protective Services would be there, and I would be arrested, and my son would be taken from me, and rightfully so. Why is it different that you bring your child to see a drag queen naked and dancing in front of you? That's child abuse. Why are they not arrested? Because they're not arrested because this is the Sodom and Gomorrah called the United States of America. that we live in. And we have okayed it. And why have we okayed it? And my grand thesis of everything, after all 24 years in the Border Patrol, taking a year to write my book and spending the last 4 months of my life on the road, traveling with Ryan all over, I know without a shadow of a doubt, Bill, absolutely in the depth of my soul, I lay every sin in America at the feet of the American man, every last one of them, because God instilled in us the absolute desire to protect our women and children, and we have failed. We failed at the basic desire God put in front of us, in the most important aspect of being a man, protecting your wife and your children, and we did nothing. We sat there and allowed the enemy evil to come in and get inside our schools, our hospitals, our religion, our politics, and they've eradicated the family, they've eradicated the man, and now they're destroying, raping, and murdering our women and children by invaders that we allowed into America. Yeah. All because the American man is fat, lazy, and impotent. That's the truth.
Yep. JJ, thank you for bringing all of this forward. A lot for folks to digest, and we will look forward to having you back as things continue to progress. If things occur in the meantime that need to get out even faster, please reach us, and we will aid in that. Okay?
I will. Thank you, Bill. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
God bless you.
Hey, is this Southwest Key?
No.
Who are you guys with? MVM?
Nope.
No? Who are you guys with? Hey, ¿cuántos años? Whoa, why are you guys being so secretive? You know these kids are kind of going places they never heard from again, right?
No.
Are you with
me, sir?
Can I ask what company you're with?
No.
No? You won't tell me?
No.
Okay. Why are you being so secretive?
Don't worry about it, sir. Can you stop bothering me? Don't take a picture of me. You're not authorized to vote. I just take pictures of me.
This is a public place. Hey, what company you guys with? Where are you guys taking this kid? Is this your kid here? Sir, is this your kid? Hey, ¿cuántos años? It's okay. It's okay. Amigo. ¿Cuántos años? ¿Qué país? Hey, are these your kids? No? Hey, are these your kids, sir? Everything okay, sir?
No.
Oh, yes, I can. I talked to the police. This is a public place, and Texas is a one-party consent state. I've already talked to the police here at length. Thank you very much. Just so you're aware, I'm more concerned with you. Why are you hiding your name badge? Why are you so ashamed of what you're doing with these kids?
You don't have my permission to be taking any pictures.
This is a public-facing place. I've already talked to the police. These are little kids. How old are they? Sorry, sir. Hey, are you going to check up on these kids after you drop them off with their sponsor and make sure that they are actually safe? Or do you care that much about them? Are you going to make sure that they're not being trafficked across the country? No, you're not going to do that, are you? You could tell us their names, so this way maybe we could check up on them. Would you do that much? No, you don't want to do that. Could you tell us what company you're with? Maybe we could take it up with your supervisor. No, you don't want to do that either. Could you look me in the eyes at least? No, you can't do that either. Okay. What about you?
Sir, all I can say is there's no comment.
Listen, I'm not trying to harass you. I'm just saying a lot of these kids could very well get trafficked across the country, and you know that. You know that. So I'm asking, could I know where they're going? Could I know where they're going?
No.
Is this your kid here? Is this your kid? Amigo. Hola. Where are you taking this kid to? Ma'am, is this your child? Why won't you talk to me? Sir, can I ask who you work with? Sir, if I'm going to be reporting on this, you might as well just be transparent. This doesn't look good. How you guys doing? Yes, I can. This is a public place.
Yeah, but like, who are you?
Texas is a one-party consent state.
No, I'm asking, who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who are you? Like, you're recording us.
Yes, sir.
Who are you?
Yes, sir. Well, these children don't belong to you, do they? Why are you guys being so secretive? Who are the kids in the car? Hey, where you guys flying to today? Hey, where you guys flying to?
Hi,
Hi.
what's your name?
Don't get in my
No,
face,
you're
sir.
getting in my space, sir.
You're getting in my space.
You're getting in my space. I need you to back down.
Okay, I'm right here.
All right, can you back down over there?
You're stepping towards me, sir.
I need you to have some space, okay?
Which company do you work for, sir?
But they all have something else in common. A lot of them are pedophiles.
Got a lot of thanks to give out here. First and foremost to my perfect wife.
Don't tell me what Can I own with just alone? Very good.
We met before. It's hard to forget those eyes.
Oh, wait, no, come on.
Okay.
Come on,
I still hold
right
five?
over here. There you go. You can put it away if you want. Is that what you said to my mom? It was wonderful. My mom loved it.
1 minute, Angel. Do you want to hold it? Here, lollipop. It's going to come in your
got
mouth
us
in 1
all.
second. Just look at the camera, and then we're going to have lollipop.
Keep going. You're standing right next to me. There you go. And then we're going to have...
There you go.
Got it? Okay.
And the people in the back, if you could spread out a little bit.
A lot of them want their way with children. And so as we investigate who actually sexually abuses children, we find that a certain percentage of those children being abused are being abused by people in power. If they can have anything they want, children included, that's what they go after.
He's accused of recruiting a network of young girls he sexually abused at his mansions in Florida and New York.
Law enforcement officials tell NBC News he faces 2 counts of sex trafficking for alleged crimes.
Trafficking underage girls to the private island near St. Thomas.
Some even refer to it as Pedophile Island.
Authorities say he declared it his primary residence.
I have spent the last 17 years in my own prison for what she, Jeffrey, and all the co-conspirators did to me. I was raped repeatedly. I was raped 3 times a day sometimes. And I was not the only girl on that island. There was a constant stream of girls being raped over and over and over again. And yes, Ghislaine must die in prison because I've been in hell and back for the last 17 years.
And 27 for me.
I was 10 years old when Liz Stein was being trafficked. I was 10. That is how long the sex trafficking ring has been going on.
Sleazy Wall Street tycoon Jeffrey Epstein used the Lolita Express to ferry a bevy of beautiful young women. Among the passengers, former President Bill Clinton and Britain's Prince Andrew.
Newly obtained documents show Clinton actually took at least 26 flights on Epstein's private jet.
According to NBC News, Jeffrey Epstein has died by suicide in his jail cell.
Children included, that's what they go after.
What percentage are you given that?
In the world, based on 30 years of investigations, probably 30%.
How much would you equate that in the United States of America as well?
Well, we're the largest buyers of child porn of any other nation in the world.